Chapter 1. Chapter 1. The Descent. In the previous chapter, Brad found himself at the threshold of an extraordinary adventure, having accepted an invitation to join an all-female crew aboard the research submarine, Aqua Belle. As a marine biologist, he was drawn to the mysteries of the ocean, but the prospect of working alongside a team of talented women stirred a mix of excitement and trepidation within him. With the promise of exploring uncharted depths where legends of mermaids and lost civilizations lingered, he felt the weight of both opportunity and expectation pressing down on him. The Aqua Belle loomed before him, a sleek silver bullet nestled in the harbor, its hull glistening under the midday sun. Brad stood on the dock, the salty breeze tousling his hair, his heart racing with anticipation. The vessel was a marvel of modern engineering, equipped with cutting-edge technology that promised to unveil the secrets of the deep. Yet, as he approached, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was stepping into a world far beyond his comfort zone. "Hey, you must be Brad." A voice broke through his reverie. He turned to see a woman with sun-kissed skin and a confident smile striding toward him. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "I'm Lena, the chief engineer. Welcome aboard." "Thanks, Lena," he replied, trying to match her energy. "It's great to be here." "Great. It's going to be phenomenal." She clapped her hands together, her excitement infectious. "We're about to embark on something that could change everything we know about the ocean. You ready for this?" Brad nodded, though a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. He had spent years studying marine life, but this was different. This was a leap into the unknown, and the stakes felt higher than ever. "Absolutely. Just a little nervous, I guess." "Good. A little nervousness keeps you sharp." She winked, then gestured toward the submarine. "Come on, let me show you around before we dive." As they stepped aboard, the interior of Aqua Belle enveloped them in a cocoon of technology and warmth. The walls were lined with screens displaying real-time data, and the air hummed with the low thrum of machinery. Brad felt a thrill course through him, mingling with his anxiety. This was where science met adventure, and he was right in the middle of it. "Over here is the control room," Lena said, leading him through the narrow corridors. "And this is where the magic happens." She gestured to a large, circular window that offered a breathtaking view of the harbor. "Once we're submerged, that view will change dramatically." Brad leaned closer to the window, his breath fogging the glass. "What do you think we'll find down there?" "Who knows?" Lena shrugged, her eyes glinting with mischief. "Maybe a mermaid or two. Or perhaps remnants of a lost civilization. The ocean is full of surprises." "Or dangers," Brad added, his voice dropping slightly. "We have to be careful." "Careful is my middle name," she replied, her tone light, but he caught a flicker of seriousness in her gaze. "But we can't let fear hold us back. We're explorers, after all." As they continued the tour, Brad met the rest of the crew. Dr. Maya, the marine biologist with a passion for deep-sea ecosystems. Sarah, the biochemist whose expertise in underwater flora was unmatched. And finally, the captain, Elise, whose steely demeanor commanded respect. Each woman brought a unique skill set to the team, and Brad felt both honored and intimidated to be among them. "All right, team," Elise called out as they gathered in the main compartment. "We're set to launch in 30 minutes. I want everyone to double-check their equipment and be ready for a smooth descent." Brad felt a rush of adrenaline at her words. This was it. The moment they had all been waiting for. He glanced around at the women, each focused and determined, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of camaraderie building among them. Yet, beneath the surface of their excitement, he sensed an undercurrent of tension, a silent acknowledgement of the risks they were about to take. As they prepared for the dive, Brad found himself standing next to Maya, who was adjusting the settings on a nearby console. "You're the marine biologist, right?" she asked, her voice steady and calm. "Yeah, that's me," he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "I've studied a lot about deep-sea ecosystems, but this is my first time in a submarine." "Don't worry," she said, offering a reassuring smile. "You'll love it. Just remember to breathe and take it all in. The ocean has a way of humbling you." Brad nodded, grateful for her encouragement. "I'll keep that in mind." As the countdown began, he felt a knot of anticipation tighten in his stomach. The engines roared to life, and the submarine began to move, gliding away from the dock and into the open water. The gentle rocking of the vessel was soothing, but as they ventured further from the shore, the reality of their mission settled heavily on his shoulders. "Descending in 3, 2, 1. Elise's voice crackled over the intercom, and Brad felt the submarine shudder as it began its plunge into the depths. The world outside transformed into a swirling abyss of blue, the sunlight fading into darkness. Brad pressed his forehead against the window, mesmerized by the shifting hues of the water. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once, a reminder of how small he was in the grand scheme of things. "Look at that!" Lena exclaimed, pointing to a school of bioluminescent fish that danced past the window, their bodies glowing like stars in the night sky. "Isn't it incredible?" "Absolutely," Brad breathed, his heart racing. "I've read about them, but seeing them in person is something else entirely." As they descended deeper, the atmosphere inside the submarine shifted. The initial excitement gave way to a palpable tension, the weight of the ocean pressing down on them. Conversations grew quieter, and the crew focused intently on their instruments, the hum of machinery filling the silence. Brad felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him. He had always been drawn to the ocean, but now, surrounded by these skilled women, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was an outsider. What if he didn't measure up? What if he let them down? "Hey," Maya said, breaking through his thoughts. "You okay? You look a little pale." "Yeah, just thinking," he replied, forcing a smile. "It's a lot to take in." "Just remember, we're all in this together," she said, her voice steady. "We're a team, and we'll support each other. That's how we'll make discoveries." Brad nodded, grateful for her reassurance. "Thanks, Maya. I appreciate it." As they continued their descent, the pressure in the submarine increased. Chapter 2. The Crew. As the Aqua Belle sank deeper into the cerulean embrace of the ocean, Brad felt the weight of the water pressing against the hull, a constant reminder of the vast unknown surrounding them. The hum of the submarine's engines was a soothing lullaby, but beneath it lay an undercurrent of tension. He had been welcomed aboard this all-female crew with a mix of skepticism and curiosity, and now, as they descended into the depths, he could sense the excitement and apprehension swirling among them. The legends of mermaids and lost civilizations danced in his mind, but it was the women beside him, each with their own stories and dreams, that truly captivated him. The dim lights of the control room flickered, casting shadows on the faces of the crew. Captain Alara stood at the helm, her posture straight and commanding, a beacon of strength amidst the uncertainty. Dr. Mia, her dark hair pulled back in a practical bun, was hunched over a console, her fingers flying across the touchscreen as she analyzed data. Zoe, the engineer, was sprawled on the floor, surrounded by an array of tools, her laughter punctuating the air like bubbles rising to the surface. "Hey, Brad," Zoe called out, her voice bright and teasing. "You're not going to faint on us, are you? I hear the ocean can be a bit overwhelming for landlubbers." Brad chuckled, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "I think I'll manage, but I appreciate the concern." Just trying to take it all in. Good luck with that, Mia chimed in, glancing up from her screen. Her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, and Brad felt a warmth spread through him. There's so much to see down here. The ocean is like a universe of its own. Exactly. Zoe exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. And we're about to explore it. Just think of all the creatures we might encounter. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll find a mermaid or two. Alara turned slightly, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Let's focus on our mission first, shall we? We're here to gather data and conduct research, not to chase fairy tales. Brad admired Alara's no-nonsense attitude, but he couldn't help but feel a flicker of disappointment. The idea of mermaids, of ancient secrets hidden in the depths, was too enchanting to dismiss entirely. He glanced at Mia, who seemed lost in her thoughts, her brow furrowed in concentration. There was something about her passion for marine life that drew him in, a shared sense of wonder that made the world outside the submarine feel distant and irrelevant. As the hours passed, the crew settled into their routines. Alara directed their course with precision, her voice steady and authoritative. Mia and Brad worked side by side, analyzing samples and discussing their findings, their conversations flowing easily, punctuated by laughter and the occasional playful banter. Zoe flitted between them, her energy infectious, often breaking the tension with her quirky jokes and antics. Did you know that octopuses have 3 hearts? Zoe said, her eyes wide with mischief. I guess that means they're really good at love, huh? Mia rolled her eyes, but a smile tugged at her lips. If only it were that simple, Zoe. I think we'd all be in trouble if we had to share our hearts with that many people. Brad caught Mia's gaze, and for a moment, the world around them faded. He felt a connection, a spark of something deeper than mere camaraderie. Maybe it is not about quantity, he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. Maybe it is about finding the right one. Mia's cheeks flushed, and she quickly turned back to her work, but not before Brad noticed the flicker of surprise in her eyes. He felt a rush of exhilaration mixed with anxiety. Had he crossed a line? Or had he merely voiced what they both felt, an unspoken bond forged in the depths of the ocean? The atmosphere shifted as they continued their descent, the light from above dimming until it was a mere glimmer. The control room was filled with the soft glow of screens, illuminating the crew's faces in shades of blue and green. The ocean outside was a swirling abyss, a world of shadows and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Approaching the first research site, Alara announced, her voice steady. Prepare for data collection. Brad's heart raced as he glanced at Mia, who was already adjusting her equipment with focused determination. He admired her dedication, the way she immersed herself in her work. It was clear that this expedition meant more to her than just a job. It was a chance to uncover the secrets of the ocean, to contribute to a greater understanding of the world. As the Aqua Belle settled into position, the crew sprang into action. Mia and Brad worked together seamlessly, their movements synchronized as they collected samples and recorded data. Zoe monitored the systems, her fingers dancing over the controls, her laughter echoing through the cabin as she made light of the situation. Hey, did you know that some fish can actually change their gender? Zoe quipped, glancing over her shoulder at Brad. Maybe we should start calling you Bradley, if you're going to keep flirting with Mia. Brad felt his face heat up, and he shot Zoe a mock glare. I'm not flirting. We're just discussing marine biology. Sure, Zoe said, her grin widening. Just remember, I'm the one who knows how to fix the submarine if you scare her away. Mia laughed, the sound brightening the room. I think I can handle myself, Zoe. Besides, I'm not scared of Brad. Brad's heart soared at her words, but he quickly masked his excitement with a casual smile. I wouldn't want to scare you, Mia. You're the one with all the brains here. Mia rolled her eyes, but the corners of her mouth twitched upward. Flattery won't get you anywhere, Brad. As they continued their work, the camaraderie among the crew deepened. They shared stories of their pasts, revealing snippets of their lives that shaped them into the women they were today. Alara spoke of her childhood spent sailing with her father, the ocean a constant presence in her life. Mia shared tales of her research trips, the thrill of discovering new species igniting her passion for marine biology. Zoe recounted her journey into engineering, her determination to break stereotypes and prove that women could excel in a male-dominated field. Brad listened intently, captivated by their stories. Each woman was a force of nature, driven by their dreams and aspirations. He felt a sense of belonging, a connection that transcended their differences. Yet, beneath the surface, he sensed an undercurrent of tension, a hint of unspoken fears and insecurities that lingered in the air. As they prepared to collect their first samples, the atmosphere shifted. Alara's expression grew serious, her brow furrowing as she reviewed the data on her screen. We're detecting unusual readings in this area. Chapter 3. Chapter 3. The First Discovery. The Aqua Belle glided deeper into the ocean's embrace, the hum of its engines a steady heartbeat in the vast, blue silence. Brad sat in the observation deck, his gaze fixed on the undulating shadows of the deep. Just hours ago, he had felt the thrill of camaraderie with the all-female crew. Captain Alara's commanding presence, drive, Mia's infectious enthusiasm for marine life, and Zoe's playful banter that lightened the weight of their mission. But now, as they descended into the depths, a sense of anticipation hung in the air, thick and electric. Hey, Brad! Zoe's voice broke through his reverie, her eyes sparkling with mischief. You're not going to fall asleep on us, are you? We're about to make history. He turned to her, a smile breaking across his face. Not a chance. I'm wide awake. What's the latest? Just a few more meters to go, she replied, tapping at her console. We're nearing the coordinates of that sunken ship. Can you believe it? A lost civilization. It's like something out of a movie. Brad's heart raced at the thought. The ship had been rumored to be a relic of a forgotten era, a vessel that had sailed the seas long before modern navigation. He could almost hear the whispers of its past, the stories it held beneath layers of salt and time. Everyone, prepare for visual feed, Captain Alara's voice commanded, cutting through the excitement. We're about to enter the site. The lights dimmed, and the screens flickered to life, revealing the haunting beauty of the ocean floor. Coral encrusted the remains of the ship, vibrant against the muted blues and greens of the deep. As they approached, the outline of the vessel became clearer. A ghostly silhouette rising from the sand, its once majestic sails now tattered and torn. Wow, Mia breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. Look at that. Brad felt a rush of adrenaline as he leaned closer to the screen. The ship's hull was adorned with intricate carvings, hints of a culture long lost to the tides. It's incredible, he murmured, his mind racing with possibilities. What do you think happened to them? Let's find out, Alara said, her eyes gleaming with determination. Zoe, prepare the submersibles. We'll need to explore the wreck up close. As the crew sprang into action, Brad caught Mia's eye. She was already moving, her focus unwavering, but there was a spark of excitement in her expression that mirrored his own. He felt a pull toward her, a connection that had been growing since they first met. Ready for an adventure? He asked, stepping closer. Always, she replied, her smile brightening the dim room. Just think of the stories we might uncover. The submersibles were deployed, and one by one, the crew members descended into the depths, their hearts pounding with the thrill of discovery. Brad and Mia paired up, their submersible gliding silently toward the wreck. The ocean enveloped them, a world of shadows and light, the only sound the soft whir of the engines and the distant calls of deep-sea creatures. As they approached the ship, the enormity of it struck Brad. The vessel loomed like a sleeping giant, its wooden frame warped and weathered, yet still majestic in its decay. He could almost hear the echoes of laughter and shouts from the crew that once sailed her, the dreams and ambitions that had carried them across the waves. "Look at that!" Mia exclaimed, pointing to a section of the hull where the wood had splintered, revealing a treasure trove of artifacts. "We need to document this." Brad nodded, his heart racing as they maneuvered closer. The submersible's lights illuminated the area, revealing pottery shards, rusted tools, and what appeared to be a beautifully crafted figurine, half buried in the sand. "This is amazing," he said, his voice filled with awe. "It's like we're stepping into their lives." Mia's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Each piece tells a story. Can you imagine what it was like for them? The hopes they had, the journeys they took." As they worked, carefully collecting samples and documenting their findings, Brad felt a growing sense of intimacy with Mia. They moved in sync, their hands brushing against each other as they reached for artifacts, their laughter echoing in the confined space of the submersible. But as they delved deeper into the wreck, a sudden jolt sent a wave of panic through him. The submersible shuddered violently, lights flickering as the hull creaked ominously. "Mia!" he shouted, gripping the controls. "What was that?" "I don't know," she replied, her voice rising in pitch. "We need to stabilize." Before he could react, the submersible lurched again, and a loud bang reverberated through the metal frame. The lights went out, plunging them into darkness. The only sound was the frantic beating of their hearts. "Brad, are you okay?" Mia's voice was shaky, but there was a fierce determination behind it. "Yeah, I'm fine," he said, forcing himself to stay calm. "But we need to get out of here. I think we're stuck." He fumbled for the emergency lights, his fingers trembling as he activated them. A dim glow illuminated the cramped space, revealing Mia's wide eyes, filled with both fear and resolve. "Okay, let's assess the situation," she said, her voice steadier now. "We need to check the controls." As they both leaned over the console, Brad's shoulder brushed against Mia's, and an electric spark shot through him. He could feel the warmth radiating from her, the tension in the air thickening as they were forced into close quarters. "Do you think we can get free?" he asked, trying to focus on the task at hand, though his heart was racing for another reason entirely. "I think so," she replied, her brow furrowing in concentration. "But we need to be careful. If we try to force it, we could damage the submersible further." "Right," he said, swallowing hard. "Let's work together." As they began to troubleshoot, their hands moved in tandem, their bodies brushing against each other in the confined space. The air was thick with unspoken words, the tension palpable. Brad could feel the heat radiating from Mia, and he fought against the urge to lean closer, to close the distance that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. "Brad," Mia said suddenly, her voice low and serious. "If we don't get out of here, I need you to know something." His heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" She hesitated, her eyes searching his. "I've really enjoyed working with you. You make this whole experience feel different, special." He felt a rush of warmth at her words, a flicker of hope igniting within him. Chapter 4. Secrets beneath. The Aqua Belle had descended deeper into the ocean's embrace, the weight of the water pressing against its hull like 1,000 secrets yearning to be released. In the previous chapter, Brad and the crew had stumbled upon a sunken ship, A relic of a lost civilization that whispered tales of adventure and tragedy. As they explored the wreck, the thrill of discovery had been overshadowed by a sudden entrapment, forcing Brad and Mia to confront the unspoken feelings that had begun to blossom between them. Now, as they ventured further into the abyss, the atmosphere aboard the submarine shifted, thickening with an unsettling tension that hinted at something more than just the mysteries of the deep. The rhythmic hum of the Aqua Bell's engines was a constant backdrop, but today, it seemed to falter, the vibrations in the metal hull echoing like a heartbeat gone awry. Brad stood at the control panel, his brow furrowed as he monitored the readings. The lights flickered momentarily, casting eerie shadows across the cramped space. He glanced over his shoulder at Mia, who was seated at a nearby workstation, her fingers dancing over the keyboard, her brow knitted in concentration. "Did you feel that?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as if the ocean itself might overhear. Mia looked up, her blue eyes wide with curiosity. "Feel what?" "The vibrations. It's probably just the current. We are in uncharted territory, after all." "Yeah, but it felt different. Like something's off." He turned back to the panel, trying to shake off the unease creeping into his thoughts. "Maybe it is just the excitement of being so deep," she suggested, a smile breaking through her initial concern. "Or maybe the ocean is just trying to keep us on our toes." Brad chuckled, but the sound felt hollow. He wanted to believe her, to dismiss the nagging feeling that something was lurking just beyond the submarine's walls. The ocean was vast and mysterious, but it was also a place of danger and unpredictability. As if on cue, a loud clang reverberated through the submarine, causing both of them to jump. The sound echoed ominously, like a warning bell tolling in the depths. "What was that?" Mia asked, her voice tinged with alarm. "I don't know," Brad replied, his heart racing. "Let's check it out." They moved cautiously through the narrow corridors, the fluorescent lights flickering overhead, casting a ghostly glow on the metal walls. The air felt thick, heavy with the scent of saltwater and machinery. As they approached the source of the noise, they found Alara and Zoe already gathered near the aft section of the submarine, their expressions a mix of concern and curiosity. "What happened?" Brad asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Something's wrong with the propulsion system," Zoe said, her brow furrowed as she examined the control panel. "I heard a loud bang, and then the readings went haywire." Alara crossed her arms, her jaw set in determination. "We need to figure this out before it becomes a bigger problem." "Mia, can you assist Zoe?" "Brad, I want you to check the external sensors. We need to know if there's anything out there causing these disturbances." "Got it," Brad replied, feeling a surge of adrenaline. He moved to the sensor station, his fingers deftly navigating the controls. The screens flickered, displaying a chaotic array of data. "Nothing unusual on the sonar," he called back, though the unease in his gut persisted. "But the readings are fluctuating. It's like something is interfering with our systems." "Interfering?" Alara echoed, her voice low. "What do you mean?" "Like there's something out there," he said, glancing at Mia, who was now standing beside Zoe, her focus unwavering. "Something we can't see. Or something we're not meant to see," Mia added, her voice barely above a whisper, as if the very mention of it might summon whatever lurked in the depths. Alara's gaze hardened. "We're not here to be afraid of shadows. We're scientists. We face the unknown head-on." Brad admired her resolve, but the tension in the air was palpable. He could feel it in the way Mia's fingers brushed against his as they both reached for the same control panel, their eyes locking for a brief moment that sent a jolt of electricity through him. "Let's focus on the task at hand," Alara said, breaking the moment. "Zoe, can you run a diagnostic on the propulsion system?" "Mia, Stay with her. Brad, I need you to keep an eye on the external sensors. If anything changes, let me know immediately. As they split up, Brad returned to his station, but his mind was elsewhere. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them, lurking just beyond the reach of their technology. The ocean was a vast expanse of darkness, and they were mere intruders in its domain. Minutes turned into an hour, the atmosphere thick with tension as they worked in silence, the only sounds the soft beeping of the machines and the distant hum of the ocean. Brad's thoughts drifted to Mia, her determination and intelligence captivating him. He admired how she handled the situation with grace, her focus unwavering even as the unease grew. "Hey," he said, breaking the silence. "You okay?" Mia looked up, her expression softening. "Yeah, just trying to figure out what's going on. It's strange, isn't it? We've been so excited about this expedition, and now it feels like we're in a horror movie," he finished for her, a half-smile tugging at his lips. "I keep expecting a giant squid to come crashing through the hull." She laughed, the sound lightening the mood. "If that happens, I'm blaming you." "Fair enough," he replied, his heart racing at the sound of her laughter. "But seriously, if something is out there, we need to be ready." Just then, Zoe's voice broke through the tension. "I've got something. The diagnostic shows a malfunction in the propulsion system, but it is not just mechanical. It's like there's an external force affecting it." Alara stepped closer, her expression serious. "What do you mean by external force?" "Like interference. It's almost as if something is trying to disrupt our systems," Zoe explained, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "I can't pinpoint it, but it is definitely there." Brad's heart sank. "So, we're not just dealing with a mechanical issue." "No," Zoe replied, her voice steady. "It's something more." Alara's jaw tightened. "We need to be cautious. If there's something out there, we can't let it compromise our mission." Mia's gaze flicked to Brad, her eyes wide with concern. "What if it is something dangerous?" "Then we'll deal with it," Alara said firmly. "We're trained for this. We can't let fear dictate our actions." Chapter 5. The Storm. The Aqua Belle had descended into the depths of the ocean, a sleek metal fish gliding through the dark blue void. Brad had felt a thrill of excitement as they explored the sunken ship, but that thrill had quickly morphed into something more complicated. The crew's camaraderie had deepened, especially his connection with Mia, whose laughter echoed in his mind like a siren's call. Yet, as they uncovered artifacts hinting at a lost civilization, strange occurrences began to plague the submarine. Unexplained noises, flickering lights, and equipment malfunctions that gnawed at the edges of their collective nerves. Now, as they ventured deeper into the abyss, the atmosphere was charged with an unsettling energy, a prelude to the chaos that was about to unfold. The Aqua Belle shuddered violently, the metallic groan of the hull reverberating through the cramped quarters. Brad gripped the edge of the control panel, his heart racing as the lights flickered ominously. "What the hell was that?" he shouted over the cacophony of alarms blaring around them. Alara, her face set in a mask of determination, barked orders to the crew. "Zoe, check the stabilizers. Mia, get on the sonar. We need to know what we're dealing with." Mia's eyes were wide, a mixture of fear and focus. "I'm on it." She moved with purpose, her fingers flying over the controls. Brad watched her, a sense of urgency mingling with the electric tension that had been building between them. The submarine shook again, more violently this time, sending Brad stumbling against the wall. "We're caught in a storm," Zoe shouted, her voice laced with panic. "An underwater storm. The currents are shifting. Can we stabilize?" Alara's voice was steady, but Brad could see the flicker of worry in her eyes. Not if we don't know where it is coming from, Mia replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. I can't get a clear reading. Brad's mind raced. They were deep beneath the surface, surrounded by darkness, and the ocean was a wild beast, thrashing against their fragile vessel. He could feel the fear rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. We need to work together, he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. Mia, what do you need from me? Help me with the sonar. We need to pinpoint the source of the turbulence, she called, her eyes locking onto his with an intensity that sent a jolt through him. He moved to her side, their shoulders brushing as they leaned over the control panel. The lights flickered again, casting shadows that danced across Mia's face. I can't believe this is happening, she murmured, her voice barely audible above the storm's roar. Neither can I, Brad replied, his heart pounding not just from fear but from the closeness they shared. In that moment, surrounded by chaos, he felt an overwhelming urge to protect her, to shield her from the storm both outside and within. The submarine lurched again, and without thinking, Brad reached for Mia's hand, intertwining their fingers. We'll get through this, he said, his voice firm. Together. Mia looked up at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and something deeper. Something that had been building between them since their first encounter. You really think so? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Before he could respond, the submarine shook violently, and the lights went out, plunging them into darkness. The alarms blared, a cacophony of sound that echoed in the confined space. Panic surged through him, but he held onto Mia's hand, grounding himself in her presence. Everyone, stay calm. Alara's voice cut through the chaos, strong and unwavering. We need to stabilize the submarine. Zoe, can you reroute power to the emergency lights? I'll try. Zoe's voice was strained, but Brad could hear the determination behind it. Brad, help her, Alara commanded. Mia, stay with me on the sonar. We need to find out where we are. Brad released Mia's hand reluctantly, the warmth of her touch lingering on his skin as he moved to assist Zoe. The engineer was hunched over the control panel, her fingers flying over the buttons, but the flickering lights only added to the sense of urgency. Come on, Zoe muttered, her brow glistening with sweat. Just a little more. Do you need me to hold anything? Brad asked, trying to keep his voice steady. No, just. Zoe's words were cut off by another violent shake of the submarine, and she cursed under her breath. I need to reroute the power, but it is not responding. Let me try. Brad leaned over her, his fingers brushing against hers as he took control of the panel. He could feel the tension in the air, the weight of the storm pressing down on them. Just keep your fingers crossed, Zoe said, her voice laced with anxiety. As he worked, Brad's thoughts drifted back to Mia. He could still feel the warmth of her hand in his, the way her eyes had sparkled with determination. He had never felt such a connection with anyone before, and now, amidst the chaos, that connection felt like a lifeline. Mia, he called, glancing back at her. She was focused on the sonar, her brow furrowed in concentration. What do you see? Nothing yet, she shouted, her voice strained. But I can feel the currents shifting. It's like the ocean is alive. Just keep tracking it, he urged, turning back to the panel. We need to stabilize before we're thrown into the abyss. The submarine shook again, and this time, the lights flickered back on, casting a dim glow over the control room. Brad's heart raced as he saw the fear etched on the faces of his crewmates. They were all in this together, and he could feel the weight of their lives resting on his shoulders. Mia, what's the status? Alara's voice cut through the tension. I'm trying to get a reading. Mia replied, her fingers flying over the controls. But the currents are too erratic. Then we need to make a decision, Alara said, her voice steady. We can either try to ride it out or attempt to ascend. What do you think? Brad's heart raced at the thought of ascending. If we go up too fast, we could risk imploding, he warned, glancing at Mia. But if we stay down here, we might get trapped. Mia looked at him, her eyes wide with fear. What do we do? Before he could answer, the submarine lurched again, and this time, it felt different. More violent, more desperate. The alarms blared, and Brad felt a surge of adrenaline. We need to make a choice now. He shouted. Ascend. Alara commanded. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. The Heart of the Ocean. The storm had come and gone, leaving behind a haunting stillness in the depths of the ocean. The Aqua Belle, battered but intact, now floated in a serene expanse of blue, the chaos of the previous hours fading into a distant memory. Brad could still feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins, the echoes of alarms and the frantic shouts of his crewmates ringing in his ears. But now, as he stood on the observation deck, the ocean stretched out before him like an endless canvas, inviting and mysterious. The crew had rallied together, their bond forged in the crucible of fear and uncertainty. Captain Alara had taken charge, her voice steady as she reassured everyone that they were safe. Dr. Mia had been a calming presence beside him, her hand brushing against his as they worked to stabilize the submarine. That brief touch had ignited something deep within him, a flicker of hope amidst the shadows of the unknown. Hey, Brad! Zoe's voice broke through his reverie, pulling him back to the present. The engineer's eyes sparkled with excitement, her usual quirkiness amplified by the thrill of discovery. You won't believe what we just found. What is it? He asked, turning to face her, curiosity piqued. An underwater cave. It's filled with bioluminescent creatures. You have to see it. Zoe's enthusiasm was infectious, and Brad felt a surge of anticipation. The ocean had always been a realm of wonder for him, but this was something extraordinary. Let's go, he exclaimed, his heart racing at the thought of exploring the unknown with his crewmates. As they descended into the depths of the cave, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The walls glimmered with a soft, ethereal light, illuminating the water around them in shades of blue and green. It was as if they had entered another world, one untouched by time and filled with the magic of the ocean. The bioluminescent creatures danced around them, their movements fluid and graceful, casting a spell that left Brad breathless. Wow, he breathed, his voice barely above a whisper. This is incredible. Mia stepped beside him, her eyes wide with wonder. I've read about bioluminescence, but seeing it in person, it is beyond anything I imagined. Brad glanced at her, captivated not just by the beauty of the cave but by the way her face lit up with excitement. It's like we've stumbled upon a hidden treasure, he said, his voice filled with awe. More like the heart of the ocean, Mia replied, her gaze drifting to the shimmering walls. It's a reminder of how much we still don't know about this world. They wandered deeper into the cave, the soft glow illuminating their path. The air was cool and damp, filled with the scent of salt and seaweed. As they moved further in, the sounds of the ocean faded, replaced by a gentle, rhythmic pulsing that seemed to resonate from the very walls of the cave. Do you think there's more to discover here? Brad asked, his curiosity ignited. Maybe even remnants of that lost civilization. Mia nodded, her expression thoughtful. It's possible. The ocean hides so many secrets. Every dive is a chance to uncover something new. Brad felt a warmth spread through him, not just from the thrill of exploration but from the connection he felt with Mia. They had shared so much already. Their fears, their dreams, and now this moment of wonder. He took a deep breath, gathering his courage. Mia, can I ask you something? Of course, she replied, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that made his heart race. What do you want out of this expedition? I mean, beyond the research and the discoveries. He hesitated, unsure of how to articulate the feelings swirling within him. What do you hope to find? Mia paused, her gaze drifting to the glowing creatures around them. I want to understand the ocean, its mysteries and its beauty. But I also want to find my place in it. I've always felt a connection to the sea, but I've never truly explored it. This expedition, it is my chance to do that. Brad nodded, feeling the weight of her words. I get that. The ocean is vast, but it can also feel isolating. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever find where I belong. Mia turned to him, her expression softening. You're not alone, Brad. We're all in this together. And I think we're finding our way. The air between them crackled with unspoken tension, the moment stretching as they stood in the glow of the cave. Brad's heart raced, and he could feel the pull of something deeper, something that transcended their shared passion for marine biology. He took a step closer, the distance between them shrinking. Mia, he began, his voice barely above a whisper. Before he could finish, a sudden movement caught his eye. A shadow darted across the cave, sending a ripple of unease through him. He turned, scanning the darkness beyond the bioluminescent glow. Did you see that? What? Mia asked, her brow furrowing in concern. That shadow. It was just there. He pointed into the depths of the cave, his instincts on high alert. Mia squinted into the darkness, her expression shifting from wonder to worry. Maybe it is just a trick of the light. Or something else, Brad replied, his heart pounding. We should be careful. As they moved cautiously deeper into the cave, the atmosphere shifted again. The pulsing sound grew louder, reverberating through the water like a heartbeat. Brad could feel the tension in the air, a sense of foreboding that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Mia, I don't like this, he admitted, glancing back at her. Something feels off. I know, she said, her voice steady despite the unease creeping into her expression. But we can't turn back now. We have to see what's causing that sound. They pressed on, the glow of the bioluminescent creatures illuminating their path. The cave opened up into a larger chamber, and as they entered, they were met with a breathtaking sight. The walls were covered in intricate carvings, depicting scenes of ancient mariners and mythical sea creatures, their forms entwined in a dance of life and death. Look at this, Mia breathed, her eyes wide with wonder as she traced her fingers over the carvings. It's beautiful. Brad stepped closer, captivated by the artistry. It's like a story etched into the stone. They must have believed in something greater than themselves. As they explored the chamber, the pulsing sound grew louder, resonating through the water like a call. Brad felt a strange compulsion to follow it, an instinct that pulled him deeper into the cave. We have to find out where this is coming from, he urged, glancing back at Mia. Chapter 7. The Rivalry. The Aqua Belle floated in the depths of the ocean, a fragile vessel surrounded by an endless expanse of blue. The previous chapter had left the crew in a state of awe, having just discovered a hidden underwater cave filled with bioluminescent wonders. Brad and Mia had shared a moment of vulnerability, their feelings laid bare against the backdrop of glowing creatures. Yet, beneath the surface of this newfound intimacy, tensions were brewing, threatening to disrupt the fragile harmony they had forged. As the submarine's lights flickered softly, illuminating the cave's walls, Zoe sat at the control panel, her fingers dancing over the buttons with a nervous energy. She had always been the quirky engineer, the one who found joy in the mechanics of the submarine, but lately, her focus had shifted. Brad's laughter, his easy charm, and the way he looked at Mia had ignited something in her. A spark that quickly turned into a flame of infatuation. "Hey, Zoe," Brad called from across the room, his voice warm and inviting. "Can you check the sonar readings? I think we might be close to another anomaly." Zoe's heart raced at the sound of his voice. She turned, forcing a smile that felt to be more like a grimace. "Sure. Just give me a sec." She tried to sound casual, but the flutter in her stomach betrayed her. As she leaned over the console, she caught a glimpse of Brad and Mia, their heads bent close together, sharing a laugh. The sight twisted something inside her, a pang of jealousy that she couldn't quite shake off. "Everything okay?" Alara's voice broke through her thoughts, the captain's keen eyes assessing the situation. "Yeah, just peachy," Zoe replied, her tone sharper than intended. She quickly focused on the sonar display, willing herself to ignore the knot of emotions tightening in her chest. Alara studied her for a moment longer before nodding. "Let me know if you need anything." With that, she turned her attention to the rest of the crew, her leadership instincts kicking in as she sensed the undercurrents of tension. As the hours passed, the atmosphere in the Aqua Belle shifted. The excitement of discovery was overshadowed by an unspoken rivalry. Brad, oblivious to the brewing storm, continued to engage with both women, his laughter echoing through the submarine, while Mia and Zoe exchanged glances that spoke volumes. "Did you see how he looked at her?" Zoe whispered to Mia during a brief moment alone in the galley, her voice barely above a murmur. "It's like he's completely forgotten I exist." Mia's brow furrowed, her heart aching for her friend. "Zoe, I don't think it is like that. He's trying to connect with everyone. You know how he is." "Connect?" Zoe scoffed, crossing her arms defensively. "It feels more like he's playing favorites. I thought we were all in this together." Mia sighed, the weight of the situation pressing down on her. "We are. But maybe we should talk to him. Clear the air." Zoe's eyes narrowed, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "Talk to him? About what?" "How I have a crush on him and he's too busy mooning over you to notice." "Zoe, that's not fair," Mia replied gently, her voice steady. "You know it is not like that. We're all here for the same reason. Let's not let this ruin what we have." Zoe's expression softened, but the hurt lingered. "I just don't want to lose you, Mia. You're my best friend." "And you won't," Mia assured her, reaching out to squeeze Zoe's hand. "But we need to be honest with each other. If we're going to make it through this expedition, we can't let jealousy tear us apart." Zoe nodded, though the knot in her stomach remained. "Okay, I'll try. But it is hard when I see you two together." As the day wore on, the tension escalated. Brad, unaware of the emotional turmoil surrounding him, continued to engage with both women, his easy charm drawing them in. He and Mia shared a quiet moment in the observation deck, gazing out at the bioluminescent creatures that danced in the water like stars in the night sky. "Isn't it beautiful?" Mia breathed, her eyes reflecting the glow of the underwater world. Brad turned to her, his gaze intense. "It really is. I can't believe we're here, experiencing this together." Mia felt her heart flutter at the sincerity in his voice. "I never imagined I'd be part of something so incredible. It feels like a dream." "It's more than a dream," Brad replied, his voice low and earnest. "It's a chance to make a difference, to uncover the mysteries of the ocean. And I'm glad I get to share it with you." Mia's breath caught in her throat, the weight of his words settling between them. "I feel the same way, Brad. You've made this journey so much more meaningful." Just then, Zoe entered the observation deck, her expression a mix of determination and uncertainty. "Hey, can we talk for a minute?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. Brad glanced between the two women, sensing the shift in the air. Sure, what's up? Zoe took a deep breath, her heart racing. I think we need to address some things. About the expedition and, well, about us. Mia's eyes widened, and she exchanged a glance with Brad, who looked equally intrigued. What do you mean? He asked, his brow furrowing. Zoe squared her shoulders, her resolve hardening. I mean, we're all feeling a lot of things right now, and it is affecting the crew. I don't want any misunderstandings to ruin our mission. Brad nodded slowly, his expression serious. I get that. What do you suggest? Zoe glanced at Mia, her heart pounding. I think we should be honest about our feelings. No more hiding or pretending. It's only going to get more complicated if we don't. Mia opened her mouth to respond, but Zoe continued, her voice gaining strength. I like you, Brad. I really do. But I see how you look at Mia, and I don't want to come between you two. I just want us to be clear about where we stand. Brad's eyes widened in surprise, and Mia felt a rush of conflicting emotions. Zoe, No, let me finish, Zoe interrupted, her voice firm but tinged with vulnerability. I don't want to lose either of you. But I can't pretend that I'm not feeling something for you, Brad. It's just complicated. The silence that followed was thick with tension. Brad opened his mouth, searching for the right words, but nothing came. Mia's heart raced as she watched the two of them, the weight of Zoe's confession hanging in the air. Chapter 8. The Revelation. The air inside the Aqua Belle was thick with anticipation as the crew gathered around the glowing bioluminescent creatures that danced in the depths of the underwater cave. The previous chapter had left them breathless, both from the beauty of their surroundings and the weight of their emotions. Brad had shared a passionate kiss with Mia, igniting a spark that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Yet, beneath the surface of their newfound connection, tension simmered, especially with Zoe's unspoken feelings lingering in the air like a storm cloud. As they ventured deeper into the cave, the soft hum of the submarine's engines faded, replaced by the gentle lapping of water against the hull. The crew's laughter echoed softly, a fragile sound in the vastness of the ocean. Alara, ever the vigilant captain, led the way, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, illuminating the intricate patterns of the cave walls. Look at this! Zoe exclaimed, her voice filled with wonder as she pointed to a series of carvings etched into the stone. These look like they could be part of the lost civilization's history. Brad stepped closer, his heart racing as he examined the markings. They depicted scenes of people interacting with marine creatures, their faces filled with reverence. It's like they were guardians of the ocean, he mused, glancing at Mia, who stood beside him, her eyes wide with curiosity. Or perhaps they believed they were chosen by the ocean, Mia added, her voice barely above a whisper. The connection between them felt electric, and Brad could sense the weight of her thoughts, the unspoken questions that hung in the air. Alara turned, her expression serious. We need to document this. If these carvings are as significant as they seem, they could change everything we know about this civilization. As they set to work, the atmosphere shifted. The excitement of discovery mingled with an undercurrent of tension. Brad caught Zoe's eye, and for a moment, he saw the flicker of something deeper. A longing, perhaps. He quickly looked away, focusing on the task at hand, but the weight of her gaze lingered. Hours passed as they meticulously recorded the carvings, their surroundings illuminated by the soft glow of the bioluminescent creatures. The cave felt alive, pulsating with energy as if it were a living entity. Mia and Brad worked side by side, their shoulders brushing occasionally, sending sparks of warmth through him. Do you think there's more to this place? Mia asked, her brow furrowed in thought. What if there are hidden chambers or artifacts we haven't discovered yet? Given what we've seen so far, I wouldn't be surprised, Brad replied, his voice low and conspiratorial. This place feels like it holds secrets. Just then, Zoe's voice broke through their moment. Hey, guys. I think I found something. She stood at the entrance of a narrow passageway, her flashlight beam revealing a faint outline of what appeared to be a door, partially concealed by rock and algae. Alara approached, her eyes narrowing with determination. Let's check it out. Everyone, stay close. As they squeezed through the narrow opening, the air grew cooler, and the light from their flashlights flickered against the damp walls. The passage opened into a larger chamber, and gasps filled the air as they stepped inside. The room was adorned with ancient scrolls, their edges frayed and yellowed with age. They were stacked haphazardly on stone pedestals, and the faint scent of salt and decay hung in the air. Wow, Zoe breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. This is incredible. Mia stepped forward, her heart racing as she reached for one of the scrolls. We need to be careful. These could be fragile. Brad watched her, captivated by her passion. Let's take a few back to the Aquan Bell for analysis. We can't risk damaging them here. Alara nodded in agreement. Good idea. We'll document everything and make sure to preserve these. As they carefully gathered the scrolls, Mia's fingers brushed against one that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Wait, this one feels different, she said, her voice tinged with excitement. It's almost like it is calling to me. Brad stepped closer, intrigued. What do you mean? Mia unfurled the scroll, revealing intricate illustrations and symbols that seemed to pulse with energy. Look at this, she said, her eyes wide. It's a prophecy. The crew gathered around, their curiosity piqued. The scroll depicted a figure standing at the edge of the ocean, surrounded by various marine creatures. Above the figure, swirling clouds formed a celestial pattern, and words in an ancient script flowed beneath the image. What does it say? Zoe asked, leaning in closer. Mia squinted at the scroll, her brow furrowing in concentration. It speaks of a chosen one who will unite the ocean's guardians. Someone who will bring balance to the seas. Brad felt a chill run down his spine. A chosen one. What does that mean? Mia's gaze flickered to him, her expression serious. It means that whoever this person is, they hold a significant role in the fate of the ocean. Alara crossed her arms, her expression thoughtful. We need to decipher this fully. If there's any truth to this prophecy, it could change everything we know about our mission. As they continued to examine the scroll, Brad couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was at play. The connection between Mia and the prophecy felt palpable, as if the universe was weaving their fates together. He glanced at her, and for a moment, their eyes locked, a silent understanding passing between them. Mia, he began, his voice hesitant. Do you think? Could you be the chosen one? Her eyes widened, and she shook her head, a mix of disbelief and fear crossing her features. No, that's impossible. I'm just a marine biologist. I'm not special. But you are, Brad insisted, stepping closer. You have this incredible passion for the ocean, and you understand it in a way that none of us do. Maybe this is why you're here. Mia looked away, her expression conflicted. I don't know, Brad. This feels too big. What if I fail? Then we'll face it together, he said, his voice steady. You're not alone in this. Zoe, who had been listening quietly, interjected. What if the prophecy isn't just about one person? What if it is about all of us? We're a team, and together we can make a difference. Alara nodded, her eyes gleaming with determination. Zoe's right. We're stronger together. Whatever this prophecy means, we'll figure it out as a crew. Mia took a deep breath, the weight of their words settling over her like a warm blanket. Okay. Let's decipher this scroll and see what it reveals. As they worked together, the atmosphere shifted from uncertainty to a shared sense of purpose. Chapter 9. Chapter 9. The Choice. The Aqua Belle floated serenely in the depths of the ocean, its hull a sturdy barrier against the vast, mysterious world outside. The crew had spent weeks exploring the uncharted territories of the deep, uncovering secrets that had lain dormant for centuries. But as the expedition neared its end, a palpable tension hung in the air, thickening with every passing moment. Mia stood at the observation window, her breath fogging the glass as she gazed into the abyss, the bioluminescent creatures swirling like stars in a dark sky. Just days ago, they had discovered the ancient scrolls that hinted at a prophecy entwined with her very essence. The weight of that knowledge pressed heavily on her shoulders, and as she watched the flickering lights of the underwater world, she felt the pull of something greater than herself. Brad approached, his footsteps soft against the submarine's metal floor. "Hey," he said, his voice low and warm, breaking the silence that had settled between them. "What are you thinking about?" Mia turned to him, her heart racing at the sight of his familiar face. "Just everything," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "This place, the discoveries we've made. It feels like I'm meant to be here." Brad's brow furrowed, concern etching lines across his forehead. "You're not thinking of staying, are you?" She hesitated, the weight of his question hanging in the air like a storm cloud. "I don't know, Brad. The scrolls. They talk about a connection to the ocean, to the Guardians. It's like I'm part of something bigger." He stepped closer, his presence both comforting and unsettling. "But what about your life on land? Your research, your family?" "Me." The last word lingered between them, heavy with unspoken emotions. Mia's heart ached at the thought of leaving him behind. Their connection had blossomed in the depths of the ocean, a fragile flower in a world that often felt hostile. "I don't want to lose you," she confessed, her voice trembling. Brad reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You won't lose me, but you have to make this choice for yourself. I can't decide for you." Mia's gaze fell to the floor, her mind racing with possibilities. The ocean had called to her in ways she had never anticipated, awakening a part of her that had long been dormant. But the thought of abandoning her life, her dreams, and the man she had come to love felt like a betrayal. "Maybe I'm meant to be here," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "Maybe I'm supposed to embrace this destiny." Brad's expression softened, but there was a flicker of pain in his eyes. "And what if it means leaving everything behind? What if it means leaving me behind?" The question hung in the air, a haunting echo of their fears. Mia felt her heart constrict, the weight of her decision pressing down on her like the ocean above. "I don't know," she admitted, tears brimming in her eyes. "I don't want to hurt you." "Then don't," he said, his voice firm yet gentle. "You have to follow your heart, Mia. But I need to know that you're making this choice for you, not because you feel obligated to stay with me." The sincerity in his voice pierced through her confusion, and for a moment, the world outside faded away. She could feel the pulse of the ocean, the rhythm of the waves, and the whispers of the ancient guardians calling her name. But she could also feel the warmth of Brad's hand, the way he looked at her as if she were the only person in the world. "I need time," she finally said, her voice steadying. "I need to think." Brad nodded, though the tension in his shoulders remained. "Take all the time you need. Just know that whatever you choose, I'll support you." As he stepped back, Mia felt the distance between them grow, a chasm filled with uncertainty and longing. She turned back to the observation window, her heart racing as she watched the bioluminescent creatures dance in the darkness. The ocean was alive, a world of wonder and mystery, and she felt an undeniable connection to it. But at what cost? The next day, the crew gathered in the main compartment of the Aqua Belle, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. Alara stood at the helm, her strong presence commanding attention. "We're nearing the end of our expedition," she announced, her voice steady. "I know this journey has been transformative for all of us, but we need to discuss our next steps." Mia felt the weight of the crew's eyes on her, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. She could sense the unspoken question lingering in the air. What would she choose? Zoe, ever the light-hearted spirit, broke the tension with a grin. "I vote we stay forever. Who needs land when you have bioluminescent jellyfish and ancient prophecies?" The crew chuckled, but Mia's heart raced. She appreciated Zoe's humor, but the gravity of her decision loomed larger than ever. Alara's gaze softened as she turned to Mia. "You've been at the center of our discoveries, Mia. If you feel a connection to this place, we'll support you. But we also need to know what you want." Mia took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. I feel like I'm meant to be here. The scrolls, the ocean. It is all calling to me. But I don't want to abandon my life on land, my research, or the people I care about. Dr. Mia, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "You don't have to choose one over the other. This expedition has shown us that the ocean is a part of us, and we can carry that connection with us, no matter where we go." Mia nodded, grateful for her friend's insight. "But what if I'm meant to do something more? What if I'm meant to fulfill the prophecy?" Alara stepped forward, her eyes fierce with determination. "Then you must follow your heart, Mia. But remember, you're not alone in this. We're a team, and we'll support you, whatever you decide." The crew rallied around her, their solidarity a balm for her fraying nerves. Zoe reached out, squeezing Mia's hand. "You're one of us, no matter what. Just promise you'll keep us in the loop." Mia smiled through her uncertainty, feeling the warmth of their support. "I promise." As the conversation shifted to logistics and preparations for their return, Mia's mind raced. She felt the weight of the ocean's call, the pull of the unknown, and the love she had found in Brad. But she also felt the tether of her life on land, the dreams she had nurtured for so long. That night, as the Aqua Belle rocked gently in the currents, Mia found herself unable to sleep. Chapter 10. A new beginning. As the Aqua Belle ascended from the depths of the ocean, the weight of the water above them slowly lifted, and with it, the tension that had gripped the crew for weeks. Brad sat in the control room, his fingers tapping nervously against the console, replaying the events of the past few days in his mind. The discovery of the sunken ship, the ancient scrolls, and the storm that had nearly torn them apart felt like a whirlwind of emotions and revelations. Most importantly, the kiss he shared with Mia lingered on his lips, a bittersweet reminder of the connection they had forged amidst chaos. The submarine's ascent was steady, but the atmosphere inside was electric with anticipation. Captain Alara stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the sonar screen, while Drive. Mia and Zoe busied themselves with the equipment, their chatter punctuated by laughter and the occasional teasing remark. It was a stark contrast to the tension that had enveloped them just days before, and yet, Brad could sense an undercurrent of uncertainty still lingering in the air. "Hey, Brad," Zoe called out, her voice playful as she leaned against the console. "You look like you've seen a ghost. Or maybe a mermaid." Brad chuckled, shaking his head. "Just thinking about everything we've been through. It's hard to believe it is almost over." Mia glanced up from her work, her eyes meeting his. There was a warmth in her gaze that made his heart race. "It's not over yet. We still have to surface and share our findings with the world." "Right," he replied, trying to mask the flutter of anxiety in his stomach. But what if the world isn't ready for what we found? Alara turned slightly, her expression serious. The world may not be ready, but it deserves to know. Our discoveries could change everything. Brad nodded, but a part of him felt the weight of the unknown pressing down. What if Mia chose to stay with the ocean? What if their paths diverged, leaving him on the shore while she swam deeper into the mysteries of the sea? As the Aqua Bell broke through the surface, sunlight flooded the control room, illuminating the faces of the crew. The moment felt monumental, a culmination of their journey, yet it was tinged with an unspoken tension. They had ventured into the depths together, but now they would have to navigate the complexities of their lives apart. "Welcome back to the surface, ladies and gentlemen," Alara announced, her voice filled with triumph. "We did it." Cheers erupted from the crew, and Brad felt a swell of pride. They had faced the unknown and emerged victorious, but as the excitement buzzed around him, he couldn't shake the feeling of impending change. "Let's gather in the lounge for a debrief," Alara suggested, her tone shifting to one of authority. "We need to discuss our findings and plan our next steps." As they moved to the lounge, Brad found himself walking beside Mia. The air between them crackled with unspoken words, and he could feel the weight of their shared experiences pressing down on him. "Are you okay?" Mia asked, her voice low, concern etched on her features. "Yeah, just processing everything," he replied, glancing at her. "What about you?" "I'm excited but scared," she admitted, her honesty refreshing. "I feel like I've found a part of myself down there, and now I have to figure out what to do with it." Brad's heart sank. "You're not thinking of staying, are you?" Mia hesitated, her gaze drifting to the window where the ocean sparkled under the sun. "I don't know. I feel a connection to the ocean, to the history we uncovered. It's like I'm meant to be a part of it. Or maybe you're meant to share it with the world," he suggested, trying to keep his voice steady. "You could inspire others to care about the ocean, to protect it." She turned to him, her eyes searching his. "And what about us?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Brad swallowed hard, his heart racing. "I want to support you, whatever you decide. But I don't want to lose you." Mia smiled softly, a flicker of hope in her expression. "Maybe we don't have to lose each other. We could try a long-distance relationship." "Long distance," he echoed, the idea both thrilling and terrifying. "That's a lot to take on." "I know," she said, her voice steady. "But we've already faced so much together. I believe we can make it work." As they entered the lounge, the crew was already buzzing with excitement, sharing stories and laughter. Alara stood at the front, ready to begin the debriefing. Brad and Mia exchanged a look, a silent agreement passing between them. They would figure this out together. "All right, everyone, settle down," Alara called, her voice cutting through the chatter. "We have a lot to discuss. First, let's go over our findings from the shipwreck and the cave." As Alara detailed their discoveries, Brad's mind wandered. He watched Mia as she took notes, her brow furrowed in concentration. She was brilliant, and he admired her passion. But the thought of her leaving weighed heavily on him. After the debriefing, the crew began to disperse, but Brad lingered, wanting to talk to Mia again. He found her by the window, gazing out at the ocean, her expression contemplative. "Mia," he said softly, stepping closer. "About what we talked about earlier." She turned to him, her eyes bright. "I meant what I said, Brad. I want to try. I want you in my life, no matter where I am." He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "I want that too. But it won't be easy. We'll have to communicate, be honest about our feelings." "Agreed," she said, squeezing his hand. But I believe we can do it. We've already faced so much together. Just then, Zoe appeared, her expression mischievous. Hey, lovebirds. Are you two planning a romantic getaway or just a long-distance relationship? Brad felt his cheeks heat up, and Mia laughed, the sound lightening the mood. Just discussing our future, Zoe. Right, Zoe said, feigning seriousness. Well, don't forget to send me postcards from your romantic rendezvous. Mia rolled her eyes playfully. You'll be the first to know, I promise. As Zoe wandered off, Brad turned back to Mia, a smile tugging at his lips. You know, I think we'll be okay. I think so too, she replied, her eyes sparkling with hope. But we have to make a pact. No matter what happens, we'll always be honest with each other. Deal, he said, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. They had a plan, a way forward, and that was enough.